The moment you guys have been waiting for is finally here. Yes, the patch 2.5 Honkai Star Rail V3 changes. I have been monitoring many platforms recently, and it turns out not a few players are disappointed with the recent changes to FEIXIAO, since her performance is said to be worse. But is that really the truth? And today's video will cover all of her changes, and I am putting her possible builds as well, since V3 is known to be the final adjustments for these characters. So let's start. FEIXIAO is going to be a hand with DPS. Her main source of damage is going to be in her ultimate. What makes her stand out from any other remaining DPS is that she doesn't use the typical energy bar like any other character, and instead uses a stacking mechanism. Both she and her team members can contribute in filling up her stacks by simply attacking the enemies. FEIXIAO also can contribute damage by using her talent that lets her perform follow-up attack whenever her team members take action. Of course, this can only be triggered once per turn. And then for her stats, they swapped her speed boots with defense. The rest remain the same. I have no idea why they did this. Defense stat might sound useless, they might as well just give her with damage bonus or something. Okay, let's start with her skill changes. Initially, she will attack a single enemy and deal a certain percentage of numbers to them, as well as increasing her speed by 10%. This is to make her turn arrive sooner so that she can quickly fill up her stacks and also to trigger her talent more frequently. But after the changes, this skill multiplier is nerfed and no longer gives her increase in speed. Instead, she will immediately launch a follow-up attack from her talent every time she uses her skill. This means she will also immediately gain 1 stack of flying arrows, since it can only be gained every 2 actions performed, making herself a reliable charger of her ultimate. So, a little bit faster stacking but nerf skill damage, but still higher damage output regardless, thanks to her talent. As for her ultimate, as you can see the number, previously there was a range in her ultimate multiplier, meaning you can choose to use her ultimate whenever you want as long as the number is 6 or above. And then she will perform a final hit whose damage is following the number of flying arrows you just consumed. But now she can't do that anymore. Her new multiplier is at a fixed number, meaning you can only consume 6 stacks of flying arrows, and thus deal only 6 instances of damage per 1 ultimate activation. But apparently you can still reserve the unused stack if, for example, you cast her ult at 8 stacks. So in conclusion, her ult can now be used up to 2 times in separate occasions if you have 12 stacks. Oh, by the way, her weakness break efficiency will still be at 100% if the enemies is yet to be weakness broken. Both of her Bolt Thunder and War Axe also nerfed. Each of their multiplier is lowered, and they also only get 30% increase in damage multiplier now. Her talent also underwent some changes. Her V1 let her perform a follow-up attack every time her ally takes action, dealing a certain number of wind damage from her attack, and she can only do it once per turn. But for this new version, they nerf almost half of her multiplier damage and give her 60% damage boost for 2 turns as the compensation whenever this talent is activated. I'm not really a fan of multiplier nerfs, but at least her ultimate can still get the benefits from this damage boost. Aside from her ultimate and talent, there are also a couple of adjustments for her traces. Starting from her A2, this was meant to immediately give FEIXIAO 4 stacks at the beginning of the battle, but now she can only have 3 at the start of the battle. Previously, if you watched my FEIXIAO video, I am a little bit confused with their A4 wording. Ultimate is considered as launching a follow-up attack, but it turns out they make it better to understand by simply using this sentence. Her new version of A4 also grants her a 36% of follow-up attack crit damage now. Another self-buff for her, which might be heading towards a better direction, I guess, since now they remove the 60% additional follow-up crit damage from her A6, but instead compensate her with additional attack boost every time she uses her skill. So more attack buffs, but less crit damage is balanced in my opinion. So the whole point of her changes is they kind of nerf her ultimate damage a little bit, but somehow distributed that to her other skills, such as her talent, and enabled her to have some self-buffs, like her follow-up crit damage and attack boost from her traces, and then the significant increase in her damage dealt after activating her talent. This somehow makes her gameplay a little bit less boring. You get to see her shine more in playing with her follow-up attack as well, since she might do it more frequently now. And now let us take a peek at her Eidolon Changes. What are the best ones for her now? Her previous first Eidolon makes her a little bit disobeying the hunt rules since her final hit from ultimate will deal splash damage to enemies. But now it has changed to increase in her ultimate damage every time she performs slashes, using both of her Bolt Thunder and War Axe. The value increase is 10% of the original damage and can stack up to 5 times. Take note that this is not a damage bonus, so it goes like 1.1 until 1.5 times damage increase. I was thinking that her second Eidolon is going to be her best one. It allows her to get 1 stack of Flying Aureus every time she or her ally attacks the enemies, since the number required to obtain the stack is reduced by 1. But now they change it to every time FEIXIAO activates her talent and performs follow-up attacks, she will immediately gain 1 charge. Aside from her previous Eidolons, this one is a little bit not worth it. Both of her skill and basic attack are supposed to be regarded as a follow-up attack. But now whenever FEIXIAO is present on the battlefield, she will increase the enemy's vulnerability from follow-up damage by 10%. It's good, but definitely not worth it for her 4th Eidolon. And then her final Eidolon is getting an adjustment as well, but more like a nerf to me. Her ultimate was meant to have only an increase in wind resistance penetration by 20%, and her follow-up multiplier is increased by 360%. As well as being regarded as ultimate damage. This current version let her ult to have all type of resistance penetration increased by 20%, but the multiplier is decreased by more than a half. So now if you are planning to invest in her Eidolon, I think it's going to be worth it to at least have her at E1. I mean, her current second Eidolon is not bad, but definitely worse than her previous one. If she still has the same E2 now, just using this team, she can cast her ult for about 3 times in just 1 cycle. But now it's significantly changed as you can still only cast her ult twice in 1 cycle, just like with her E0. So I think for now you can definitely go for her E1 if you want to pursue her Eidolons. But what about her signature? Is it better to pull her LC or just go straight for her first Eidolon? Before we determine anything, let's first discuss her signature changes. From the V1, this light cone let the ultimate damage from the wearer to ignore 54% of enemy's defense in total. But to have that, your ally needs to perform action and deals damage to enemies 6 times. The recent changes just make it easier, since now the wearer only needs to perform 2 follow-up attacks to get that 54% defense ignore. So if I have to do a little calculation, damage-wise, using her signature is only 4% higher. This is probably due to her insane defense ignore, so you don't have to bring another debuffer, just focus on harmony units. And then always a reminder for you that pulling for her light cone is cheaper, since the chance of winning is higher. So I guess S1 is more worth it for her. Do you guys feel the same? Let me know in the comments. When it comes to her best relic options, I think the best one is the Wind Valorous. You see, this relic is only meant to be for her and Yuli, of course. She will definitely unleash so many follow-up attacks, thus can proc this relic's passive so easily. Her main damage is also from her ultimate, that is why this relic is the most suitable. Aside from that, I think there is no other 4-piece relic that really fits her. Well, except you want to use Quantum sets, since this can actually work too, but definitely not her best choice. You can also try Eagle set so that she can have more turns that arrive sooner, but again, this is definitely not her best option, so this might need further testing. But if you want to farm for her relic from now, I think it's definitely worth it to spend your trail-based power for the Wind Valorous set. As for her Planar, Duran is definitely the set that you want to use, but take note that she needs her ally that has the ability to perform follow-up attack. That's why Duran is the best Planar if FEIXIAO is in this team, since they might launch follow-up attacks several times, thus maximizing this Planar. And then you can also not go wrong by using Salsoto. This set here is always been a versatile option for many characters up until now. And if you use Mose or March or Topaz as secondary DPS in her team, you can also utilize Izumo sets in case you have crit issues. For her body piece, you definitely want to use crit stats. And then speed for her boots, since they took away her god speed stat, you can choose either attack or wind damage for her orb, since FEIXIAO herself already has a significant attack and damage boost in her talent and traces. So I think you just want to use whichever has the best stats, and then of course attack on her roll. Her signature light cone is definitely the most suitable for her. Her ultimate damage will have a 54% defense ignore, which is really insane considering her own damage is not a small one to begin with. And then another 5-star options that can work with her is definitely Stellar Cruise. It's free and it gives a high crit rate as well, and it's been always the most flexible light cone for most of the hunt units in the game. In the night technically can work, but since her speed now is significantly reduced, so this LC now is not as effective as before. Slip Like the Dead is actually can be a solid option too. It gives crit damage boost and help your FEIXIAO to overcome crit issues as well. Worrisome Blissful is a great option since most of her ability is follow-up attacks and thus can benefit from this passive. This LC can increase the team members' damage as well in case you pair her with Mose, for example. The Threshold's LC is also cannot be underestimated. After performing ultimate, FEIXIAO can get increase in her damage dealt and her follow-up attack can ignore a certain percentage of enemy's defense. But take note that you might not maximize this LC's passive really well, since the enemy needs to be inflicted with at least 3 debuffs. And here is the percentage comparison between the 5-star LCs. For the 4-star options, the Final Victor can be your choice since you can get it for free. After that, since FEIXIAO can deal 6 instances of damage with her ultimate, you can pair her with Swordplay. It's going to be even better if you have it at maximum superimposition. Other LCs can pretty much work with FEIXIAO, but I think these two are the most useful and effective for her. FEIXIAO's performance will shine more if she is to be paired with team members that can do frequent attacks, such as follow-up units. That is why this team is going to be her premium team. Aventurine will act as their sustain as well as to execute several follow-ups to charge FEIXIAO's ultimate. Same with Topaz, she will give vulnerability to follow-up damage by 50%, which is insane for FEIXIAO. And then she can also act as the secondary DPS in the team. Robin here also the key to FEIXIAO's team. She boosts damage and attack as well as giving them another turn so that FEIXIAO can stack up her ultimate more efficiently. Having many follow-up units in these teams together with the new version of FEIXIAO is going to give Robin a high amount of energy also, thus more additional physical damage from her and lowering the downtime of her ultimate also. This is why Robin is the most important member in the composition. You can certainly swap members like Topaz with Mose for example. Mose can also act as secondary DPS in the team, serving almost similar purpose with Topaz. He can also increase enemies' damage taken to follow-up attack, and certainly will perform follow-up attack frequently. Yes, he is getting a buff, but I will cover his details in his own video later on, so stay tuned guys. Aside Mose and Topaz, you can also use March, especially we are getting her full Eidolon also in the next patch. Aventurine here can definitely be swapped with other characters as well, such as Lingsha, whose rabbit can have its action multiple times, or even Gallagher because his ultimate can grant him another turn and then can charge FEIXIAO's ultimate. Since FEIXIAO can pretty much charge her own stack now, I guess it's still worth it to try the double harmony team. Robin still have the same purpose. Brunya can make FEIXIAO turn faster so that she can unleash more follow-ups that lead to higher damage output and faster ultimate charging. You can also use Quid Pro Quo on Gallagher here so that it will generate more energy on Robin's ultimate. So should you pull for her then? Or save your Stellar Jets for other character? Overall, FEIXIAO Changes is not as bad as many people think, right? Although it's just 6 to 10% greater than before, it's easier to manage her ultimate now, and she has more fun playstyle, since they enable her to perform so many follow-up actions now. Even though they kind of nerf her first and second Eidolon, but if you are looking at the bright side, it's clear that pulling her signature is more recommended now. And of course, she is a strong unit, but definitely not going to be the strongest or the most unique or the most broken character that the developer had ever released in the game. If your account currently has the strongest characters such as Acheron, Firefly, Bootheel, or maybe even complete with their signatures, I don't think FEIXIAO is worth it in your account. Always remember that DPS unit might have expired soon, and knowing that FEIXIAO is not at the strongest level, there will be plenty of other DPS in the future that can replace her for sure. But if you really need a DPS to clear some of the endgame content, such as MOC or Apocalyptic Shadow, then FEIXIAO will be a great choice. So what do you guys think about her changes? Is she going to be stronger and worth your chase now? Or still, you just want to skip her? Please let me know in the comments, and also state your own version of FEIXIAO's team composition and builds. Soon I will be back with FEIXIAO's changes along with her possible build, so turn on the notification and subscribe to this channel while doing so. I will see you humans in the next video.